A super thanks to begin today's show from Joseph. Get rid of Donovan Wilson and draft Billy Bowman. I always appreciate, by the way, when people have a plan in place for like, I'm going to do this and this as how to address my needs there. Now, Joseph might be an Oklahoma fan. That's perfectly fine. I do like a lot of what Billy Bowman brings, especially in coverage. He's a very different player than Donovan Wilson. Wilson is a hitter. I wouldn't really consider Bowman to be much of a hitter, especially given how much deep free safety stuff he played. Might be a Malik Hooker replacement in the end. He's got to be a better tackler, though he missed a lot of tackles this year. But I appreciate the plan element. And if you get him like you have no 4th round picks, that kind of sucks. If he's there in the 5th, it's kind of like I'm sprinting to the podium. Now, that came in via Super Thanks to feature here on YouTube. Allows you to edit your message, send it in whatever, donate outside of live videos. Click the thanks with a $sign in between it, edit your message, and send it in. Even if you're, say, F you, Tom, we will, which someone did do one time. It was very funny. We'll give you a shout-out on the show. From We to Wife These 304s, I think we signed Zekel. I'd crash out. Yeah, 1-day contract to retire. I mean, I don't think any NFL team is adding Zeke with the assumption of like, yeah, this guy can be a top 2 back for us anymore. It's 2025. We have enough of it. We have more than enough data and can use our eyeballs properly to know he's just not the same guy anymore. So 1-day contract to retire, I'm down. Lucid Chart, would you trade for Dominique Davis from the Steelers? Interesting name, who also, if I'm remembering correctly, was a Bengal, by the way, for as a defensive lineman. I'm probably not trading for him. He's kind of been a bit of a journeyman defensive lineman. And I'm right, he was the Bengals there for a while. He was on a futures deal, so I'm not trading for him for the Steelers. He might not even make Pittsburgh's roster. From Chastity, does the salary cap increase impact Micah Parsons, and would you trade him? So two different questions there. Increase impact? I don't think so. He was already going to get big money. That has not changed. And I think that you've probably already allocated the amount of money it's going to cost to pay him. So that increase means, okay, now we get a couple extra $1 million to pay somebody else. Well, would I trade him? No. I don't think you find players of that caliber. Like, that is a guy I build my defense around. Like, yes, it's expensive. I don't really care. It's like, Steelers should not have traded TJ Watt. You know, unless the player is throwing a fit and trying to demand his way out like Myles Garrett, like I keep that guy and I build my team around him on that side of the ball. So what would you do with Micah Parsons? P for pay, T for trade. Let me know in the comment section of today's show. The pinned comment. The ad comes here on YouTube. Take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. From Jace, Cowboys drafting Jalon Walker. So he's one of the tougher players for me in this year's class. I am most interested in him as a pass rusher. I think that is what he does best. I think if he's an off-ball linebacker, I think he's a Frankie Luvo style player. He might be like Clay Matthews. Also a bit worried he might be more of a Bruce Irvin, where he's not really a great run stopper. Now, Bruce Irvin put up big sack numbers for you, was fine. I also think with Micah Parsons, if you're making him an edge, it's really light on the outside. And you're kind of very skinny unless you're playing a lot of 5-man fronts and putting those guys as like your 3-4 outside linebackers, which is fine for me. So I got a first, 2nd round grade on him. I think he's going to test really well. I think there's a little bit of like, the big question is, do you think he is a tweener, which is a real concern, or is he a hybrid? You have a hybrid, really good. You got a tweener, it's just not as good. Maybe you try him as like an early down off-ball linebacker and plays edge on 3rd downs. I struggle with him at times. Not because I'm not interested, not because I don't think he's talented, but I think you have to have a good plan in place. And he might have more success at a place like Carolina, for example, where they can build the defense around him as opposed to Dallas, where, okay, you're already building the defense around Micah, now might get a little bit, too many cooks in the kitchen type of deal. For Mark, would you trade for Garrett Wilson with the number 1 pick? I think in the top 2 receivers in the draft would be better and cheaper and slightly younger. Garrett Wilson's tough for me because if I did not have CeeDee Lamb, I would be screaming to go trade my 1st round pick for Garrett Wilson. Give me him. There's my number one. I can pay him too. You can pay, because if you're trading the first rounder, I want more than 2 years out of him. Maybe 3 years. That's kind of just not good investment on what that pick could potentially be. If I can get it for my 2, in a heartbeat. My guess is the Jets are simply just not going to trade Garrett Wilson. The issue was Rodgers there. He's gone now, so I think that relationship will be fine between the team and the player. I don't think Luther Burden or Tet McMillan are going to be as good as Garrett Wilson, but they would be significantly cheaper for 4 to 5 years, and I think that is a big factor there. If I can get it for the 2, I do it. In the end, I think he's probably just not enough of a realistic target with Rodgers on his way out. Today's show is made possible by PrizePicks. It is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on PrizePicks. And get in on the action in more than 30 states, including California, Texas, Georgia, and Florida. I always advise the flex play. That way, if you get one wrong, you're fine. Still cash out in the end. Our boy Jack already cooked up this baseball prize pick slate. The Duran pick is with more than homers, it's a homer pick because he's a Boston fan. But I like going more thans on season-long prize pick slates because if they're healthy, they're going to get there. So go download the PrizePicks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Win or lose, you get that $50 after after you play your first $5 lineup. It's prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play that first $5 lineup. For Mark, if we nab the top receiver or Wilson and nab a stud receiver in round 2, which many running backs is so deep, our offense will be a huge upgrade. Our tackles have to improve. I am optimistic, hopeful, maybe it's copium and hopium, to be fair, that the new coaching staff on the offensive line, Clayton Adams, Connor Riley, will get better play out of your tackles. Coaching matters. I don't think you had a great offensive line coach in Mike Solari. Historically, he did a pretty good job with interior linemen, not so great at tackle, so maybe that's just a trend for him. I don't know if you need 2 receivers in the top 2 rounds, like a big-name guy and a third. I think you could probably survive there. But if you're adding multiple impact pieces on offense, then yes, absolutely your offense is way better. And if you can be able to run the ball when teams dare you, which they haven't been able to for like 3 years now, that would also be a pretty big deal. Ecuador man, all the cap does is give Jerry more money. You're not wrong. It does raise the cap floor they have to spend, which they kind of already get to. They've been a little bit close on it. If you, it's not fair. You just can't really do it this way. It's not fair. If you pull away the quarterback contracts, cash spending wise, they're not very high. Pull away all quarterback contracts, they're like league-ish average. From Riley, why are the Cowboys still the betting favorite for Myles? I think there's a super chat on Myles Garrett too. If you want to go to that one real quick here, kind of tie these two together with CTs here. As it relates to Myles Garrett, because CT's also asking, what if we gave the Browns a 12th pick and next year's first for Myles, draft running back later? I know with money gets tough. I'm just a casual. I think that's about the cost, frankly, is 2 ones. That is a superstar edge rusher who is top 3 at his position and is still going to have a full contract for you. The money gets tough because you can if you want to, but should you pay 2 pass rushers $35+ million per year? Now, it's not going to hit the cap. And if you were to do something actually aggressive like that, what you should do is go all in and say, I don't care about 2029. Garrett's going to be older by then. Dak's deal will be up. I don't care about 2029 at that point. I am leveraging every contract I can. I'm pulling every lever, and I'm spending, way more cash than I ever have. That's not how the Cowboys, unfortunately, do business. So in general, what is the % chance the Cowboys trade for Myles Garrett? Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Du Bois, Cowboys takes on trading back for Luther Burden. I'm all for it. In general, this draft class is going to be very divisive. I know people who, like me, are very high on Luther Burden. Daniel Jeremiah did not have him in the first round of his mock draft. I think he's awesome. I think he is a big play yak generator DJ's coming to Stephon Diggs. I think if he can do more down through the did at Missouri, I'm really intrigued by that too. I like his game a lot. He's a really good football player. I think he fixes your number 2 receiver role. He did some outside stuff in 2022. Lamb can do outside stuff too. Can put guys in the slot. You can be creative. I would be all for it. Trade down and get Luther Burden. I love that. From Frankie, can Mason Graham fall to Dallas? Yes. Anything's possible. Will he? Almost certainly not. I think Mason Graham is the 3rd best player in this year's class. I think you're looking for one of those upper echelon guys to fall down to you. Maybe it's a Tet McMillan. Maybe it ends up being I think Genty could very well fall to you. I don't think Mason Graham's going to get to you, though, as much as I would like that. Who is your dream first-round Cowboys draft pick? Semi-realistic there. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Cowboy Rob, 28, hoping for an overhaul at safety. But do you think Hooker is a lock to stay because of his familiarity with Matt Eberflus in Indy? I think Eberflus made a comment, didn't put it in the other show this week, that, hey, we got a bunch of good safeties here. That wouldn't shock me. Hooker was there from 2017 to 2020. Flus was there from 2018 to 2021. Now, in that time frame when Hooker was available, he had a couple interceptions those first couple years, and then he got hurt. He's a different player than he was in his prime in Indy. I think the injuries have been a factor that's kind of sapped him a bit of his athletic ability. My suspicion is the Cowboys are going to treat safety like we like our guys, and they're just going to hold them for another year. I wouldn't say it's a lock. Maybe things could change, but if I had to guess right now, in February 20th on today's live show, I think he's back. Do you like our Cowboys mailbags? If so, do me a favor, subscribe. Hit that sub button right now, youtube.com/CowboysTV. Unitive, what do you think of trading Trayvon Diggs for 2 second-round picks and signing Kendall Fuller? It's a plan. No one's going to do it, though. No one's trading 2 seconds for Diggs coming off a bad knee injury. It's just and a big cut. It's just not going to happen. Diggs isn't going to go anywhere. Unless you, salary dump him, which doesn't save you any money anyway. Diggs will be here in 2025, and hopefully he's healthy and looks more like the good version we've seen of him. Eberflus made a comment about wanting to play more man coverage too, which I think is he sees what Diggs and Bland can do. But I don't think you're going to trade him for 2 seconds. But signing Kendall Fuller as a stopgap option, if Diggs isn't healthy, I am still on board with that one too. Hunter M. Look at this last one here. Value to trade back, say 5 to 10 spots. A lot of this depends on, what is the interest level from other NFL teams? How much interest are you getting? If you move down, looking at the rough trade value chart here, so I'm looking down off my screen here. You trade down to 16, 17, somewhere in that ballpark. You're kind of in that late-ish third-round range. Now, I make note of that because you moved down and got way better value from the Lions a couple years ago. So if you get a team, you could be in that range where maybe you're low on first-round grades. Maybe you don't have a first-round grade you love, and maybe you're out. And other teams behind you are, maybe there's somebody wants to come up and go get. If you want to trade down to the 10 spot range to where the Steelers basically are, at that point you're looking at kind of that mid second round range. When at that point the Steelers, maybe it's more the Chargers first and second works out fairly decently to come up. A 1 and a 2. Just depends on how far you want to move back and what the interest is. It does take two to tango.